You're listening to All Things Sports with Mike Davis.
What's going on, everybody? Thank you for joining me. Glad you could be here on another episode of All Things Sports with Mike Davis. I thank you for including my podcast into your day. If you're listening on Spotify, follow the podcast. If you're on YouTube, subscribe, comment, like, all that good stuff. Make sure you go to the Facebook page to get in contact with the show for comments or suggestions. I won't take up much more of your time. Let's get into it. Okay, so I wanted to continue on talking about a little NFL football, some of the games that took place Sunday, also last night's game that happened in New Orleans. But I wanted to touch on a game no one's really talking about, and that was Miami at San Francisco. Now, Garoppolo was benched in the loss to the Dolphins, and I'm not really understanding why. I like Kyle Shanahan as a coach. I believe he's better than his dad, honestly. His dad had John Elway to work with and Terrell Davis. And I believe he also coached under Dan Reeves for a while. Shanahan showed, in my opinion, showed his coaching style and what he is about toward the end of his Broncos tenure and what he did in Washington with RG3. I still blame Mike Shanahan for destroying RG3's career. Never should have been out there in that playoff game against Seattle. Never should have happened. But I'm not understanding what Kyle Shanahan is doing. Garoppolo missed, the last two games due to injury. So, naturally, you're going to have to work yourself back into it. Remember, there was no preseason, so guys didn't get that tune-up that they would normally get before the season starts. And the guy was hurt. So, Jimmy G, 7 of 17 on Sunday, 77 yards, 2 interceptions, 1 fumble. He was sacked 3 times. I get it. I see it. He was horrible in the first half. And his picks, I had no idea where he was throwing the ball to. I mean, my goodness. The second pick, Jimmy G didn't look good. But you bring in C.J. Beathard, who pretty much does the same thing. Beathard went 9 of 18 for 94 yards. 1 touchdown. He was sacked twice and he fumbled 2. So what was the purpose of benching Garoppolo? I've seen games where quarterbacks have had 5 interception games, and they've stayed in the game. So you bench Jimmy G after 1 bad half of football. And San Francisco they came in, they kicked behind, and they took names. They were up 30-7 at the half. San Francisco D isn't helping much either. You can't put that on Jimmy G, what the defense is giving up. The defense gave up 436 total yards to that Dolphins offense. They gave up 436 yards to an offense led by Ryan Fitzpatrick. If you look at San Francisco the past 2 weeks, they can't stretch the field with the passing game. The passing game is lacking. They can't stretch the field. Fitzpatrick had himself a heck of a day. Here's his first half stats. 15 of 19, 251 yards, and 2 touchdowns in the first half. That's a complete game just in the first half alone. The score was a complete game in the first half. Fitzpatrick finished the game 22 of 28 350 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, a QBR of 154. The Dolphins opened the whole playbook up. They converted on a fake punt for a first down in the third quarter. That's not on Jimmy Garoppolo. That's not on C.J. Beathard. That's coaching for not knowing what was coming. Because you're getting blown out. So now Miami's just trying. They're just working on stuff for next week, or what they're going to use later in the season. Because they opened the whole playbook up once they got up 30-7. So I wouldn't have benched Jimmy G. I didn't understand the reasoning behind it with Shanahan, but we'll see who he goes with next week. I don't know who he has in mind to play next week, but San Francisco has to get the passing game going. They got to stretch the field because guys are just stacking the box now. If you look at Miami just started stacking the box. So until they show they can go downfield and they can score, this is what you're going to see. Excuse me, from San Francisco. All right, so moving on. Last night's game featured the L.A. Chargers, formerly known as San Diego. They came down to the Big Easy to play the New Orleans Saints. Saints come from behind to win in OT, 30-27. Now, the Chargers, they've given up 2 big leads in a row, just like the Atlanta Falcons. They've looked like the Falcons the past 2 weeks. Drew Brees came in 3-0 against his former team. He is now 4-0 after winning last night. This is my first time seeing Justin Herbert play. He looked good. He looked pretty good. He came in for the injured Tyrod Taylor and then eventually won the job, impressing coaching. And that is now his starting quarterback job as Tyrod Taylor looks on. Do you sue the team doctor if you're Tyrod Taylor? Do you sue? I heard Michael Strahan said that he would sue. I mean, he pretty much lost his job because of the team doctor. I mean, it's not funny, but man, that's a way wow. Well, as I was saying, Justin Herbert, that was my first time really getting a good look at him. I saw him a little bit against Tampa the previous week, but he looked good. I see why they're going with him. Last night, he was 20 of 34, 264 yards passing, and 4 touchdowns. Now, if you watch the game, the Chargers, as you know, they put up 3 touchdowns in the first half, and then the offense kind of just became stagnant after that. They went up 20-3. And for Drew Brees, that's not a big lead, if you're playing against Brees and the Saints. So Drew Brees, he does what he does. There's no need to even go around it. Brees brought them back, and then late, of course, in the game, you bring in Tyson Hill, and, he ties it up at 27 with a touchdown run in the fourth. Also, Justin Herbert, there was a play late in that fourth quarter where Justin Herbert found the receiver just wide open, going right down the seams. I mean, woo, man, New Orleans might want to fix that up with their safety coverage because he got behind the coverage, and San Diego really should have won this game. San Diego, the team formerly known as San Diego, the L.A. Chargers, should have won this game, but Tyson Hill ties it up late in the fourth with a touchdown run. We know the rest. Drew Brees leads them down the field in OT. They kick a field goal. Game is over after the Rams. This whole LA thing is just throwing me off. You got the LA Rams, LA Chargers, San Diego Chargers. Look, point being, Chargers should have won the game. They gave it away. They should have won. There you have it. All right, I want to touch on a little baseball. My Braves win Game 1 of the NLCS last night. It was a pretty good game. The game went to the ninth inning tied at 1, but the Braves bat came alive in the 8th inning. Now, the Braves left the bases loaded in the 8th, but that didn't stop because in the 9th, that's when the scoring started. That's when Austin Riley hit a solo home run, and it just took off from there. The Braves ended up scoring 4 in the 9th. Max Fried gave up only 1 run, and the bullpen pitched 3 scoreless innings for my Atlanta Braves. Clayton Kershaw will go against Ian Anderson in Game 2. Now, Clayton Kershaw hasn't been this bad in this year's postseason, but we know he's infamously bad in the playoffs. So, hopefully my Braves are going to win. We'll see what happens in Game 2. Over in the ALCS, the Tampa Bay Rays, they beat the Astros. They take a 2-0 lead in that series. I'm sure everyone in the world is happy. When the Astros lose, the world is better. So Jose Altuve, I'm putting this loss on him. He had 2 throwing errors in the game. I saw it. Just routine ground balls, and he just threw the balls low. Now, one of his errors led to a 3-run home run in the second by Rays Manuel Margot. And the Rays pretty much, they just never looked back. Now, the Astros loaded the bases on 3 straight singles in the 9th, but they can only put across 1 run in the failed rally, and the Rays get the win. They lead that series 2-0. Hey, look, that's all I got for you today, folks. I thank you for including my podcast into your day. If you're listening on Spotify, follow the podcast. If you're on YouTube, subscribe, comment, like, all that good stuff. Go to my Facebook page to get in contact and show comments or suggestions. You can listen to All Things Sports with Mike Davis. And remember, it's your world. I'm just giving my opinion. I'm out. Peace.
You're listening to All Things Sports with Mike Davis. You're listening to All Things Sports with Mike Davis.